Welcome, teachers and parents of homeschooled kids. I'd like to share with you what it is I have to offer for you. I'd like to share with you how I think I can help you. But before I do, I would like to just take a really quick moment to tell you about, well, a dynamic shift in my approach to teaching and what caused that. See, when I first started teaching, I was a very traditional teacher. I stood up in front of the class and I told kids what it is they were supposed to learn. I was pretty successful with it because, well, I worked really hard and I developed good relationships with kids, and I'm passionate about what I do. But it didn't really work so well. Kids would be really great in 9th grade, but then I'd get them again later, and they didn't remember anything. They would drive me crazy. But it wasn't their fault. It was my fault. And it wasn't really even my fault. I was working within the structures that, well, education offers for us. Then I saw a video by Sugata Mitra, a TED Talk. And he talked about, well, there's 3 things that are most important. Number 1, kids learn what they want to learn. Number 2, kids learn together. And number 3, they don't need an authority. And by authority, I mean an expert in the field. There's a lot of things that I found wrong with that video when I first watched it. I was just a nitpicker, a naysayer. But then the more I thought about it, and the more I tried, the more effective I became as a teacher. Kids learn what they want to learn. So our job is to create interest. We can do that with good questioning. We can do that with personifying the math, making a funny little story about it. Or sometimes the math itself has some really interesting consequences, like rational exponents. Did you know that rational exponents were used to make music quote unquote normal, repeatable, tunable? Pretty interesting. You can also do it with really open-ended stuff in projects, but those sometimes you have time constraints and those can be kind of tricky to do. Anyway, kids learn what they want to learn, so we need to make them interested in learning what it is we are responsible for helping them learn. Number 2, they learn together. The more questions they ask of each other and the more they work together in a productive fashion, the better they're going to be. If kids are having an argument about something in math and I intervene, conversation's done, thinking's done, learning is done. I'm the authority. They view me as the authority. As soon as I speak, whatever I say, they're probably just going to accept that my answer's right. They're going to say, see, I told you so. And one's going to be like, oh man, I can't believe I was wrong. Even if I was wrong. Anyway, 3rd thing, they don't need us to be experts. They need us to be guides. Our job is to set up the things for them to learn in the progression and make sure we're staying on our time. And they just need encouragement. I remember getting in an argument with a friend of mine because, well, I teach community college classes as well. And I had this 25-year-old student and she didn't know how to do fractions. My friend got really mad at me because he said, well, why don't you just tell her? Because it doesn't work. She's been told how to do fractions since she was, 10? That's 15 years. It doesn't help. Eventually, through just encouragement and just, just encouragement, really, that's all it is. She figured it out and she stayed with me until she went through college algebra and she passed college algebra with an A. She learned how to learn. She took responsibility. And that's the last thing. Math is something you have to do. It's not something that you just know. It's not something you can memorize. It's like learning how to ride a bike or play an instrument. You can demonstrate and you can talk till you're blue in the face, but until they pick it up and make mistakes and learn from those mistakes so that they can get to the next set of mistakes, so they can fix those mistakes, so they can try again and get to the next set of mistakes, they'll never ever learn. It's just how, unfortunately, that's how it is. We can't get fixated on making mistakes as in a negative light. In fact, when students make mistakes, that's when they're about to learn. That's why the thing that I have that I think is the most important is the types of questions I have for each topic and the review. Now, you don't have to use my review, you can use your review, and you don't have to use my questions, you can use your own. But whatever you do, I think the types of questions you use are just so important. That's probably the most important part. You see, for every single topic I have, I do have a written portion that can be downloaded and printed and written on and whatever. You can do it, you can have the students do it, however you want. But the practice problems and the review are the most important. Now with the practice problems, they're all approachable. And I don't just say, oh, we learned exponents, here's 50 problems. They're all approachable, but they're not predictable. See, when you give them 50 problems, they're going to figure out how to do those, but not because they learned the math. They're figuring out you. They're figuring out your style of questioning. If you're using software like tutors, which is great. I use it quite a bit. But if you're using that as your number one method of getting them to practice things, you're failing. They're failing. They're not going to remember because all they're doing is they're hacking it. They're figuring out how to get answers right, but they're not really learning the math. So the problems. This is something I'm pretty passionate about. I apologize. So the problems, there's a lot of thought that goes into them. They're quality problems because number one, they're approachable. Number two, they're not predictable. And number three, they're going to uncover misconceptions. And that's why the review is so important. When the students have something that they believed was true and it's exposed as being false, then you have an option, and then you have the ability to replace it with correct understanding. And that's what learning is. That's what education's all about. It's about finding out that you used to think this was true and now you see why it's not true and you can replace it with something that is. That's it. So every single topic will have a written portion, it'll have tutorial videos, it will have practice problems and review. Now for a lot of things, I will actually create lesson plans for you, where I give you a PowerPoint. I'll make a video where I will walk you through the entire PowerPoint. I will tell you how, like some strategies where you can say get a certain, like the really strong kids to still be involved without dominating the discussion, and how you can get those coattail riders to speak up. And I will share with you some strategies to, well, just help your everyday life. Like how do you get kids to school on time, or to your class on time, and how do you get them to study, and good note-taking habits and all those kinds of things. There'll be videos for that. They're on my blog. And then the ones that are specifically applied to particular topics, they will be in the Teachers tab right there on the page. So anyway, I want to thank you for your time. If any of this works or doesn't work for you, I would love your feedback. I want to know. Let me know. I've got an email address that's in the description below, and I've got Twitter you can contact me through in the description below. Got a Facebook page for the Bearded Math Man. I'll put the link there as well. As always, thank you for watching, and keep working at it. We're all getting better. We're all making mistakes, but we're all striving to help students learn math better. Anyway, until next time, thank you very much and have a good day.